Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Looks like everything is working correctly here. Good, good. All right. It's always nice when that works out. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully everyone is able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead and all that fun stuff. Don't forget, on the left side of the screen there, make sure to read through the live Trader Morning Prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside there. Also keep in mind, today is Non-Farm Payroll Friday, and it's the first Friday of the new month, and this month is a new quarter as well. There's a lot of weirdness with this one, and Non-Farm Payroll Fridays are typically difficult days to trade anyway. A lot of people won't even show up today. A lot of traders just don't even trade today, and I can't say I blame them. Looking back, I think for pretty much everybody, one of the most difficult days you'll run into, or one of the best days you'll run into, is NFP day. And, you know, that swing back and forth on NFP day is either incredibly good or incredibly bad. So you just got to play it on the safe side. Just be careful today. Just a quick note before we jump on in. Please note that the YouTube side of things does have about a 5 to 30 second delay depending on where you're logging in from and when you're logging in from, and that will definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about at that given moment. Also, just wanted to give a shout out to our latest members that joined last night, overnight, this morning, etc. Thank you so much for the support. I'm pumped to have you on the SSFTG family. If you aren't a member yet, you do have a few different options available to you to check out if you're looking to further your trading education and career, or just looking for a cool place to hang out with a bunch of other awesome traders. Here on YouTube, you can check out the join button below the stream. The YouTube family gains access to the extended hours trading room, which continues the morning session from 10 until we end, usually around 10:30, 11 o'clock. Every member also gains permanent access to the Discord chat server, and of course, on YouTube here, you get the awesome badge next to your name to show your support, and it just looks cool. To understand the trading approach and what we're doing here every day, look no further than the Day Trading Academy. This is no lightweight PDF that you're going to finish in an afternoon. We're looking at 19 plus hours of course and study material, including, or not including, homework and review and all of the other stuff that comes along with it. So if you're looking for a heavy-duty Day Trading Academy, that would be the spot to check out. And then, of course, it comes along with it, but the next big step up is the VIP. And VIPs have exclusive permanent access to our non-delayed stream, covering the entire morning room from 9 until we end the day, again, usually 10:30, 11 o'clock, to ensure that you're on the fastest connection possible and so that you don't miss a beat. Alongside that, VIPs also have access to our monthly VIP webinars, private VIP events, one-on-one scheduling access, all kinds of cool stuff. So whether you're here for the very first time or you're a seasoned VIP over on the Zoom stream, welcome. I'm glad to have you trading alongside of me today, analyzing these especially crazy markets today with non-farms. Let's take a look at some news, take a look at what's going on today, and kind of gauge what all is happening here. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. I've got them back into normality. We're back up. Yesterday it was off down to like 14 or something. We're back up into the norm again. We've got 110 on the board. So everything should be relatively straightforward as far as that's concerned. This bugs the crap out of me that I don't have a 0 next to that. Well, whatever. We've got that there. Don't forget to grab those levels. As far as the news is concerned, looking at today, obviously, non-farm payrolls. We had the NFP numbers come out worse than expected, 559 versus the forecasted 650. That's not great, right? Earlier before that, Fed Chair Powell was also speaking at 7 o'clock. Unemployment rates came out better than expected at 5.8% versus the forecasted 5.9%. So, I mean, I guess there's that to go off of. Non-farms, the previous was 266. It revised to 278. So, I mean, that's like twice as high going from month to month. It's a pretty big difference there. Looking at the rest of the news for the day, we don't really have much. There's medium and minor news. It's the normal Friday stuff. CFTC speculative net positions, U.S. Baker Hughes oil rig count, nothing fancy. As far as the news for the rest of the day is concerned, we don't really have anything to worry about. But that said, beforehand, there's been a lot of news that has already taken place that can definitely throw things around a bit. So starting off on the Nasdaq, taking a look at what's going on here. Let's clean this up a little bit and start a bit fresh. One of the big things that stands out, obviously, this just metric ton of a range that happened up here, and the market blew off through the lows. And it didn't just travel lower. It didn't just go through the bottom of the lows. No, no, no. It did it after it vindictively trapped the highs and obliterated the buyers who tried to catch that knife. There was no remorse on that move down. And now that we've broken below that and continued down, not only have we kind of further proven that the sellers have a bit of oomph here, but we've kind of deviated down a similar distance, and we're also finding support from previous areas of interest here. And this is the concern, where the sellers were looking for this to roll back over and keep going. And you can see they tried right there, right there, right there, and they just gave up. And now that we know sellers have given up, this really strong rotation to the upside is likely going to be followed up with at least a secondary leg. Sellers weren't expecting this. And a lot of times when sellers are taken by surprise, or buyers are taken by surprise, or anybody is taken by surprise, it usually equals two legs. We've only had one so far, so likely we get a secondary leg to the upside from this point. And that, I mean, at the moment at least, that projects all the way up to 13,700s, 750s. We might be all the way back up there by the end of the day. We'll see. Very interesting movement so far, from the top to the bottom, knowing that we do have several higher lows, and we know now especially that the sellers have given up. We did not shift the POC down, and that's important information, because realistically, if the buyers were long here, they didn't do enough work down here to re-average themselves lower. So if it gets up to the 661, that's kind of a problem. That creates that as a level of resistance now. If they would have been able to shift the POC down, and maybe they did if we go all the way to the end, they didn't. So the fact that they haven't, and well, at least not yet, and weren't able to shift the POC, you can see they tried. Look at that volume bump right there. Lordy, lordy. Still got some work to do, but there's definitely, actually, hold on. Ooh, hold on. You see that line right there? Man, they almost got that POC to shift. Whew. They put in a lot of work there, but it wasn't enough to get the POC to shift. That means that this 661 becomes a level of resistance that we're going to have to deal with. Fingers crossed, the bulls, because that POC is so close, it's just good enough, and the bulls just rip through 661, and we don't have to worry about it, and then we're on our way up to 750, and we've got a massive bullish day. Fingers crossed, right? But for now, we're going to have to keep our eyes out on that 661, with the assumption that we should have two legs to the upside based on that surprise move. If we're looking back on the S&P, we've got a nice potential flag, which is breaking out to the upside. The big thing that happened here is the L2 pullback. And it wasn't just any old L2 pullback. Man, that thing hit that L2 and it was like a landmine, just gone. It bounced right off of it, screaming all the way back to the upside, higher low. And now that higher low has further confirmed itself by breaking up. We do not have proof of a full trend shift yet. The trend shift needs to break these highs. We just have a short-term zigzag to the upside. This could easily be a two-legged correction up for sellers to slam the market back down again. Don't get caught up in one side just because it looks good right now. We haven't proven it with that break above the top. As soon as that happens, it's game over for the sellers. They don't have anything anymore. Any pullback after that, it's usually just going to be them getting out with as little damage as possible. That's a really good sign for bulls, but that hasn't quite happened yet. Got some more oomph to go to the upside, but realistically, bulls who bought into this to the tick off of the L2 screaming back to the upside, their objectives are the highs. 42.20, 42.30s. We'll see if they can make it. Over on gold, man alive, gold went absolutely bananas. We had this original move down, and we were talking yesterday on how this could potentially be going for a 1.5 move. Well, they skipped the 1.5 and they said, nah, we're just gonna go double down. We don't need no 1.5. Let's go 2, maybe almost 2.5. So really, really big drive to the downside on gold, and that is obviously an overextension. I don't think that's really hard to pinpoint there. But if we put a POC on that move to the downside, we can see that they did not put enough volume in before this congestion. So just looking at the end of the day yesterday, they were building a huge amount of volume, but not enough to shift the POC. As we drag this further forward, we can see that the POC did in fact shift, and it did it in the overnight. What a surprise. And we're seeing the rally to the upside. Go figure. They picked 6 in the morning to do everything. With this rally to the upside, we did see sell accumulation phasing going on up to a pinnacle point up into these 1910s to 05s. That's going to be the objective for the bulls here. If we can get a pullback, which this is looking really good for a potential V-bottom, buyers really don't want much of a pullback from a V-bottom standpoint until we break above this intermediary high at 1900. If they can get above that, then it can pull back. That's fine. It's got to break above this high, though, because that proves the V-bottom, at least in the short term. If we can, start pulling back a little bit more and we start seeing this, we're probably not V-bottom. We're probably more likely range, and we're going to have to treat it a little bit differently. Right now, buyers are on the aggressive, and they're looking to buy basically any pullback they can get their hands on. Crude oil's got some pretty good continuation still to the upside. As far as the overall momentum higher goes, we were talking about this yesterday, although unfortunately for me, I was looking for slightly deeper prices on how buyers were likely going to utilize the inventories and a two-legged move down to buy into and bounce the market back up. We were looking for just a hair lower, and it couldn't quite make it there. Oh well, I can't get them all, and we rotated all the way back up to a new high. Now that we're continuing this incredibly bullish trend to the upside, if we're looking at it from the bottom, this thing hasn't even pulled back to, I don't think it's even hit an L2, has it? It's been L1s the whole way up. Yeah, it's been L1s the whole way up. That last pullback, man, did they hit that? Oh, they missed it to the tick. A couple ticks off. They missed it. So that's important information. That means that a lot of buyers are still kind of lying in wait. Like, crap, I didn't get the fill. I didn't get the move that I wanted. I didn't get the bounce that I wanted. So if we can get a quick little flush down to there, that might be fantastic. But as it stands, bulls are still creeping it higher. Deeper pullback would be nice. Euro's got a monster reversal back to the upside after completing that two-legged move to the downside in a couple different ways, I think. Got that first drive down and the second drive down. That's the larger measured move. We also have the impulse measured move to the downside, which showed up. It tried going here and it missed it. And then it finally showed up over here. Again, just measuring the impulse from the top of the move to the bottom of the move, that really sharp drive. A lot of times those will show up again later. And it finally showed up over here. Right there. So that usually means a lot of times that they've kind of completed their objective. We weren't so sure yesterday going into the that down move. But now, given the way that this is spiked back to the upside, it's more realistically a lot of sellers have been trying to go along with this, and they just got slammed. So if anything, sellers would likely love to see this come back down to the 21,330s, back to settlement, and then just kick it right back up to the upside. Swing perspective, low risk, high reward, low probability. Bitcoin, very nice flush back, almost grabbing an L4 before popping back up again. So far looking almost like a V bottom down there before rotating higher. Still haven't seen any further confirmation like new highs or anything like that, but that V bottom definitely helps. Might just get stuck here for a little while around 36,500. And then Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum, same thing, but this is looking a little bit better. First off, take a look at what the MACD did. So we had a double bottom into a higher low, okay? That seems relatively good as far as a reversal goes. The MACD broke a new swing high. We're seeing what you would normally like to see on a trend. Now, if we look at what happened on actual price, we had a double bottom into a higher low, remember. This is a 3-press low. That's about as diverged as you could possibly ask for. The only thing that this is missing is a wedge break, and, well, they just got it. So, I mean, if bulls are looking for a reason to get in the short term, at least on the 15 for Ethereum, they just got their reason. There are a few concerns, right? Like not making that high. That makes me really nervous. That doesn't give me the warm fuzzies at all. If anything, if they can't get it to go here, it's likely a failure sign that we're coming in for a deeper move down to 2,200. So this is kind of the launching point that they've got to get going. We'll see. All right. Over on the Nasdaq, starting off on the daily perspective. How did none of my drawings load up? Really? We've got this big bear bar to the downside. here's the concern with that big bear bar to the downside. Remember what we were talking about yesterday? We either see a big bear bar down and a continuation, or a twin reversal. Big bear bar down, big bull bar right back up. A big bull bar right back up here is an incredibly bullish indication. That's like buyers looking for the ceiling, slam the gas pedal to the floor and keep going. That would be a total failure from the sellers. Big deal if we get a close that ends up bullish today, especially for closing way the heck up here at the top of yesterday. Maybe even higher. That would be even better. So it's very obvious that bulls are interested here. My one caveat to that is the POC is a little bit further down. I would have preferred to see it get a little further down towards those 13,200s or even a little bit underneath it. Hasn't happened yet, maybe after the weekend, but I mean, realistically, that's a pretty good heads up, and considering that we had a higher low, massive transition failure here, a sell trap here, all of this sideways action, sell side breakout that's currently failing, or at least trying to. Side note, swing shorts are looking to sell here because they can put their stops above yesterday's high with a target back down to new lows. Very good reward versus risk for shorts to sell here. But as far as the bull case goes, if we start breaking back above the lows of that range, that's going to be real tough for the sellers to want to hold on to. We've got a little bit of a fist fight here. This should be interesting. Kind of curious. If we go from here to the top, what does volume look like there? I know it's on the daily, so it's going to take 20 years to actually load up here. There we go. Oh, God. No. Oh, no, that's bad. That's a problem. Again, this adds a lot to the reason why sellers would want to try to take this, and this adds a lot to why, if this ends up being a failure to the upside, how strong of a failure that could potentially be. We have a top-weighted POC now. And if this ends up being a top-weighted POC that fails to move lower and goes up, and we start breaking above the highs, then we start potentially looking for some serious moves higher. I mean, you're talking like almost 14,500 on Nasdaq if we start seeing that continuation above the highs. So, I mean, keep in mind, this could be a massive launching pad on the daily if we close today bullish. Strong bullish. At least. Looking on the 60-minute perspective and kind of seeing what's going on here, it's very obvious that we had that sideways congestion, choppy, gross, two-legged correction down. It did go a little bit further than that, though. Let's see. Did they get that that 1.5? No, they couldn't even go 1. Okay, never mind. Kind of failed that one. So as far as the sell side move down, I mean, it's pretty obvious to see how much the sellers have tried and how big of a failure this could potentially be if this keeps rolling back up. This could be nuts. Absolutely crazy. The one thing that stands in the way at the moment, falling resistance. Got to go a little bit further up and kind of prove it. On the 15, just looking for a bit more refined volume price action here. Going across and just seeing what we've done. They haven't transitioned the POC. So major objective for resistance is going to be back up to those 661s. Zooming out a little bit, Asian session to Euro session transition, or lack thereof, totally flat, not really much going on. But so far, the market is holding pretty aggressively above the Euro session highs and kind of sticking the landing on basically every pullback. If we're going from the lows, the reversal, even with that kind of funky gap, we've got to go back to yesterday a little bit. Is that gap actually there, or is my data wrong? My data's got to be wrong. Hang on. I'm going to reload data real quick. This might take a second. There we go. Say something's not quite right here. All right. Data fixed. So as far as the overall cycling goes from the bottom, that makes it a lot easier. Okay, so now we've got the L3. Thank you, fixed data. That makes it a lot nicer. We've got the L3 off of the bottom, a little more continuation, another pullback to L3, and then we finally get that V-bottom decisive rip up through new highs, and since then it's been L1s, 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 until they finally got a deeper pullback here. The market splits down. Where'd it go? L3. That's a repetition. We've got 1 time it did it, 2 times it did it, 3 times it did it. How many more times do you need to tell you that the L3 is support? We've got a lot of support down here, and they're defending once again. V-bottom again. 3rd time, really, if you look down here. Out, out, out. Big spikes. Oh, well, and obviously out. Every move down so far has been absorbed aggressively. So with this momentum to the upside, I mean, we had the L3 the last time we had an L3. If we look at the continuation to the upside, right, look at these little micro phases. We had the L3. Once it broke a new high, it went L1, L1, tried holding an L1 and then dipped. The next time it broke a back, we had the L3 on that deeper pullback. It broke to a new high. We held an L1, held an L1, held an L1, held an L1, pulled back deeper to an L3. We've now broken a new high. You tell me, what do you think is going to happen next? I don't know about you. I'm kind of liking the look of that L1. Now, if we look back at the way that it's supporting around those areas, the L1, those bounces off there, do tend to be relatively quick initially, and then tends to chop through to the secondary area. Right? If we're looking at this from a repetitious standpoint. Looking back again, the top of the area has initial bounces, but typically goes to the secondary zone, then goes to a new high. If we look to the next one that happened over here, the market did not respond to the top of the zone. They responded to the bottom. If we go to the one that I missed before that, let's see one time that it responded to the top of the zone. There's another time it responded to the top. The one thing is very apparent. When it responds to the L1, it never gets to the L2, if it's going to work. That gives us a fairly obvious point of interest, doesn't it? As far as a risk standpoint goes, realistically, I know that the market should want to get down to the lows, and we shouldn't break underneath this base. 2-to-1 objective back to the highs. We know it pulls down a little bit further. I might as well get greedy on my entry. That makes a heck of a lot more sense like that. As far as market repetitions go. And there again, right? If this fails and it pulls back a little bit further, where is it probably going to pull back to? It's probably going to bounce at an L3, right? If we look backward, the L3s, that one held after it chopped through, almost made it to an L4. This one went through both sides and poked its head out through the bottom a little bit. This one poked its head out through the bottom a little bit. So we can see, generally speaking, when the market pulls back, it pulls back to the lower end of things today. It seems to be on the deeper spectrum. So if I wanted to be a buyer, I would rather be a buyer down here. One thing's for sure, it typically doesn't hit L4. Same concept. Are there any POCs on the way down? Just way the heck up there. What a crazy move. And actually, you know what? Since we've had 3 L3s back to back to back, what do you want to bet? They'll utilize the open to drop to an L4. And we don't end up getting down to the L5. We could approach this with a slightly wider perspective like this. Looking for an upside objective back towards... it's a wider risk, obviously, but it's also a significantly wider target. And if I'm going to go down to that area... There's a lot of ways to play this one, but We've had a rep L3 back to back to back over and over and over again. If they're going to dip underneath that structure, we're probably going to hit an L4. Right now, though, it should hold high side in the on the lower side of the L1. Typically speaking, at least, from what we've seen historically. Got the open right around the corner here in about 4-ish minutes. So, see what he wants to do. Hey, welcome, welcome. Ace, Bill, Banana, everybody else, welcome. Hopefully you're having a good Friday so far. So in thinking, that's a really, really great question, Dave. So in thinking of those setups, would there be a way to trade down to those areas? Definitely. I would rather play on the side of the scalper, obviously, because the trend is up right now. But if I were looking for downsided moves, one of the first most obvious things that would stand out to me at the moment is that the Nasdaq, at least on this V bottom reversal back to the upside, has had almost no pullback. It's desperate for a pullback, and it's very top weighted right now. So looking for pulses to the upside that fail, or clusters of failures, i.e. looking really, really close here, all of those pockets of wicks, there's obviously some rejection going on here, and you can utilize POC to kind of narrow in, maybe on like a 125 tick or something a bit faster. But that would give you an area of interest that you could potentially look for quick pulses up to try to fade back off of. And maybe you do catch that run that drives all the way back down. From the scalper's perspective again. Now, from the swing trader's perspective, I would rather, in swing is strictly in the sense of 2-to-1 risk-reward mentality, right? In that mindset, I would rather see like bulls try, we get some very obvious bull attempts, and then they fail down. That's where I would look to strike on something like that. It's quite a bit later, but it's a lot safer just because you're kind of trading off your entry location. Your timing's a lot worse. You're entering at the lows of the range, but you're entering in with all of the structure wind in your back, wind in your sails. But there's definitely ways to go down to those areas for sure. Another thing that you can utilize as well, to kind of tell you, hey, should I start selling now? Is now a good time to start fading? Or should I wait? You got to wait for a major objective to get hit first. Right? If bulls are looking for something to the upside, they're not going to stop buying until that something is done or they've given up. Right? So don't start trying to fade against a strong move or trying to pick a top or pick a bottom until an objective is done. Good rule of thumb to go off of generally. See how they want to play ball here, but from the bottom to from the bottom to the initial top, the POC was down here at 527, which the market very obviously dove back down to. And are you kidding me? Well, man, if that's not a break-even exit, I don't know what is. That's nuts. The sellers were obviously stuck here. And they obviously got suckered in and held longer than they wanted to. And when they were given a chance to get out at break even, boy, did they take it. Wow. These new highs are going to make it frustrating. We know where the areas of interest are. I'm just going to have to kind of deal with the market kind of poking these new highs real quick. really as big of a pullback as I was hoping for here. At least not yet. Market's still rampaging away. Let's see. Austin, I signed up for the trial on the site. Does that get access to the stream after the YouTube stream ends? No, I'm kind of curious. I'm and it's probably in one of the descriptions on somewhere. The trial used to be for the live trade room, which is what you're watching right now. I have since included that as part of the VIP package. So like VIPs get access to the live trade room on Zoom, so there's no delays, there's nothing like that. And the trial used to be for that, but now that it's broadcasted on YouTube, I haven't really ever, for maybe like the last 3 or 4 weeks, used the trial. And I've been trying to track down where the trial registrations are, and I can't figure out where they are to try to get them deleted. But at the moment, the trial, I mean, it signs you up so that you get the initial, 3 email burst that gets you kind of started in the mindset of trading in more of the psychological side of things. But the extended session, that's on YouTube or for VIPs. So YouTube, as a member, which I think is like $4.99 or something like that. I wanted to do the lower price one, but that does the extended session after that. Is this going to be another day with no pullback? I'm starting to feel like I'm getting left in the dust here. Okay. Well, definitely still interested on the L1. Yeah, no problem. Ziggy, leave my microphone alone. I took the long, yeah, nice job. It was definitely there. I don't blame you. It's just, I wanted it to go a little bit deeper for my liking. I'm glad you got it, though. Great work. But that was a heck of a, that was a banger to the upside, too. Sheesh. Want to buy pullback, please? Or not. I mean, that's cool too. Almost done with the first 5-minute candle here. Oops. Let's scoot this in a little bit. There we go. At the moment, it's at 42.12. Yep, 42.12. And the POC on the 5-minute Nasdaq. Wow, landed really high. That's 40, isn't it? Yeah. 640. So the market is just screaming to the upside right now. Buyers will be looking for a reason to pick up, at least from the scalper's perspective, back in the 13,640s, for buyers attempting to get a bounce out of that zone. Back down to where the buyers took over before. Oh, man, and they just tested that 645 for a possible break even. A lot of sellers might have jumped ship here. I'm going to look to see if I can get a snapback for the blow off on the top here. Oh, I didn't get the fill on the bid slide there. Pop the top. There we go. Beautiful. Snap through the highs. I tried getting 2 contracts, but the stupid thing won't fill me. Every time I try to get 2. Which means I only got the 1, so I should hang on, right? If we learned our lesson from yesterday. Beautiful move to the upside. I tried grabbing 2 on that slide back down, but it bottom bid me, and I didn't get a fill. More continuation to the upside. A lot of times when you have this type of momentum higher, they created that POC in the middle, and it's very obvious those sellers got out. So if they're going to be looking for upside continuation, I mean, realistically, we've got, I mean, at least up until 684.50. Probably a little bit through it. That's a pretty nasty twin reversal off the top there. A deeper pullback would be preferable. It's a nice volume pocket back in the 55s. A lot of wicks showing up in the 660s. That price, 660s? That should ring a bell. That should sound familiar. There's a reason we did all that work this morning. Remember what that price is? That's that daily POC. Ding dong, we're back. This is where shorts are going to reload if they're going to reload. And if the shorts are going to fail, this is where they're going to fail. This is a very big launching point. Expect this to get a little bit choppy. I don't want to be a buyer too high anymore. There's a heck of a lot of wicks going on, though. Give me a flush underneath those 55s. Or a bull engulfing candle. I mean, okay, jeez. Ooh, bear engulfing. Bull engulfing. Bear engulfing? Never a good thing when they can't make up their mind. Bear engulfing. Okay. That almost guarantee will have gotten a lot of sellers in. If this bull bar, if it ends up going bullish, those sellers are going to jump ship real fast. Watch this candle that's trying to form here. Very strong momentum. Bulls attempting to trigger above the highs, looking for a continuation pop above the top. Beauty. Nice snap right back up to the highs. I'm loving it. Double top. They didn't break the high yet. Ooh, that quick little snapback. That might be a reload if they close this week. Ooh, they're in a fist fight. If they lose their grip, we're probably getting the deeper pullback to that 645. That might be that start of the deep L1 pullback too. What about over here? If we go from over here, that gives us an L5 into an L4. Fantastic. Everything's pointing to an L1. It's just not pulling back. More continuation. More breakout momentum. Jeez. Jumbotron move. Whoa! Squeeze City. Woo, man, if the sellers were short, they just got ran over. I mean, to be fair, we saw all of the exits. We had so many clues that the sellers have already exited inside here. It's blatantly obvious. But still, wow, what a move. Right on up to that 84. Made it up to 82.75. The objective, close. Look at that brick wall of volume that stepped up at 74, too. What a move! Let's see if we can get a little bit more of a pullback here and see what they want to do. Holy cow. Kind of curious. Have they done anything different with the POC? They haven't. It's still back here. That increases the projection. 693, 694. We've still got room. The bulls still have plenty of room to keep this squeeze going. Gas pedal can remain pressed. Well, to a degree. They're starting to break above the 661s. It's a nasty spot, so I would still rather buy dips, buy pullbacks, buy cheap. Ooh, nice little two-legged correction back. One more dip, maybe under the 70s here. Bulls look like they're already kind of kicking off here. Oh, what a terrible candle. Well, maybe not. Try again. Little flush maybe into the 65s? Remember, the gas pedal can still be down, but I would like to try to get as good of an entry as I can. If they break above that last bear bar, though, chances are we're going to pop. Looking for a continuation pop back above the 674. They closed above it. Potential launching point for a larger move back up through the 680s here. Nice little dip for a reload. That might be the last chance. That's the last chance. Big pop to the upside. Follow it through. Ooh, back down. Ooh, that might not be the last chance. Hang on now. Maybe not. Come on, bulls. What are you doing? Back down to break even. Bouncing off that zone. Trapping the break-even zone potentially. They're definitely messing around with people here. Look at that secondary bull bar. Keep it going, Nasdaq. That's a fantastic bull bar to get more buyers amped up. They just broke back above the 674. POC just shifted. POC shifted. I'm going to jump. I don't like that POC shift. That makes me nervous. That might just be a reload and a big buyer hit it so hard that it shifted it, but that makes me nervous. Yeah, it did end up going up. What a wild ride. 9:45. There's no news at 9:45, but usually some movement. Two seconds. I'm going to grab a drink. All right. Oh, jeez. Nice pop through the top. They definitely messed with people down there. Bulls continuing to the upside and keeping this drive alive. Major upside objective hasn't been reached yet, but as soon as we start breaching above those 694s, it's going to be a lot more difficult to want to keep buying. Eventually it'll pull back. Market always does. It's just a matter of when. It might not pull back for another hour. It might not pull back today. We saw that, what, last week Monday? Or the week before? Whatever day that was. We have not completed the objective yet. There's a lot of support down here in the 689s, but we're so far up. Definitely only scalping up here. Unless it gives you a run that you can still hold on to. On the S&P, if we can get a little bit of a dip back down, 1475. I really like 1475. That looks great down there. Objective finally complete. A lot of times they do push through these. We're seeing an immediate response because there's profit taking there. It's not a surprise. That's what this first pushback is. But a lot of times they do go through it a little ways. I'm not expecting this exact level to be the complete and total top. But realistically, it might be, and it's giving us a clue that I don't want to be a buyer as aggressively anymore. The gas pedal is no longer on full throttle. The gas pedal is easing up because the light just turned yellow. I know it doesn't feel like it, but when you hit these major objectives like this and you see a response off it, that there's this information. Now, if this goes screaming through this and it goes ripping, maybe we've got a shot to keep that going even further up. Looking from the bottom all the way to the top. Oh, the POC's still back here. It hasn't changed. They are trying to build one up here, though. Right on top of the major objective. So this is actually a great spot of what we were talking about earlier, looking for that deeper pullback, which hasn't happened yet. While the market is pulling back to those areas, now it's telling buyers that they shouldn't be looking to buy too aggressively. In fact, if we get a really clean, nice-looking bullish setup, it's more likely going to be a trap. It would be a potential area to sell into and try to get those moves to the downside. I would still rather see it pierce up a little bit further, though. 42.1475 is the first zone of interest. It's a breach below the previous 5-minute bull bar on the S&P. We're still outside gap, way to the upside, but that would be the first pullback that we would actually have today on the 5-minute chart. Nice bull bar pop to the highs here on the Nasdaq. See if they can keep it going. Remember, I would like to see them go a little bit further up. 698s, 700s wouldn't hurt my feelings. They've typically still got a bit more fuel in the tank. S&P's getting close. The next question will be if it actually fills. Has it even hit the stupid thing yet? No, it hasn't. Woo, geez, all right. Heidi-ho there, neighborino. 1375, 1475, 1575 is the current objective. Big flush to the downside quickly on the S&P. A lot of buyers are likely going to just gobble that up like it's going out of style. Look at the Nasdaq, just rifles right back up. $10 minutes until top of the hour, 10 o'clock. We don't have any news at 10 or anything really to worry about per se, but 10 o'clock will still throw things around a little bit. Wider objectives on the S&P, if buyers are looking for larger targets, would be up at 1650. We are now popping above into the 700s. This is the completionary area, the zone, if you will, on the Nasdaq. The buying gas pedal on the Nasdaq is off. Waiting for those deeper pullbacks now. I'm sure eventually the S&P will decide to do something. Until then, looking at the Nasdaq from this move higher here. Still no change in the POC. Man, they are close, though. Right in these 690s. If they're going to shift it anywhere, that's going to be where they do it. The problem is they'd be shifting it from the top side right now. It's coming down and shifting it. Little bit deeper pullback would be preferable on the Nasdaq. Especially considering that we have achieved the primary objective for the bulls. Although a lot of times it does stick around here for a while. POC finally shifted. There it is, 690. So that POC shift, if sellers, if that's what they were waiting for, now they're just waiting for the transition of control, which obviously hasn't happened yet, but that's the next step. Major objective on the highs hit at the 693s. It did go through it by a little bit up to the 700s, 700 half to be exact. It's doing exactly what we wanted it to do. This is the area that does kind of pave the way for sellers to potentially give it a crack, if you're willing to sell in the face of something like this, of course. The secondary alternative would be waiting for the deeper dip to buy into. Generally a bit safer. S&P fills the secondary area. Still looking for a scalper's target. Just means that the scalper's target costs a little bit more in commission now. Nasdaq looking really strong, breaking back above that 90.75. Sellers do not want that to happen. Remember, we're at a major completion zone. So this is the spot where if sellers are going to try to push back, it would make more sense for them to do it here. Still looking for a scalp, 13.75 now, but still slightly more expensive on the commission side for the S&P. Still waiting. Nasdaq just is not pulling back. Every time it tries to go underneath that 690, it's contested again. S&P's just got to go a little bit further. But the Nasdaq's continuing to climb higher. I mean, maybe they try to trap above the 700 halves. What a great spot for buyers if they're not sure where the top is going to be, to let the top be proven and then sell the next time it gets up there. Perfect profit-taking location. 5 minutes until 10 o'clock. Target being tested on the S&P, although no fill. There we go. Out with the scalp on the S&P, although heavy commission weighted. So we've got 4 minutes left. Feel free to get those questions in for the last little bit here, and then we'll rock and roll from there and get all those questions taken care of. And then also, while we're waiting here, let's take a look at the numbers for the week. I did have a ton of trades this week. A lot of trades, but we'll take a look at the numbers here in just a second. What POC indicator do you use? I use the one that's built into NinjaTrader. It's the volume or order flow volume profile, or whatever they call it. It's the, if you go into the drawing tool at the top, it is right there. Order flow volume profile. So looking at the week, jeez, I did have a lot of trades. Let's see here, 220. That's like 2 weeks worth of trades in 1 week. Obviously, this is definitely a scalping week, especially if you look at the risk-reward averages and all of that. Looking at the numbers, 66. My cat, I'm going to throw... well, I'm not going to throw you. I'm going to kick you out of my office if you keep pushing my mouse off. You're driving me nuts. We've got 66.23 minus 100. That means losses are 33.77% of the time. Those loss sizes on average twice as large as the wins at 41, 13, 84, 57. That leaves a remainder 66.23 times the average win of 25 at 1655. If we take the two, 13, 84, 57. It's a scalping week. Difficult week. I mean, we already kind of knew that. But my normal number for the week is in the thousands. I've had twice as many trades this week as a normal week, and my number is just barely positive. It's very obvious that this was a difficult week. Regardless of what the dollar signs are, right? The numbers speak for themselves. It's still positive, which is good. That means we executed the plan effectively. Things were done in the way that they should have been done. Nothing is out of whack. But we can definitely see that there was a lot of trading done on my side. And that could be because it's non-farm week. Maybe that has something to do with it. There's a lot of scalping. I know one of them was an E-break exit, which definitely contributed to a lot of those contracts. But the numbers don't lie. They tell us it was a difficult week. If you made it through to the end of the week alive, numbers say you're doing okay. We're breaking above the POC for the sellers. Uh-oh. What a wild ride today. Kind of expected, non-farms, but still, sheesh. Joining the channel on YouTube, is it still delayed? There's always, I mean, unfortunately, as far as YouTube is concerned, there's only so much I can do for the delay. Even on the ultra latency set or whatever it is, the best delay that I've been able to get down to, people were reporting like 1.5 to 2 seconds. Which, you know, at times is fine. And at other times when the market's jumping around 40 points at a time, it doesn't really help. That's where the Zoom stream for VIPs comes in. They're needed. It's always been there, but that's the non-delayed, usually less than a second from that perspective. But I try to keep the delay as low as possible. Yeah. But there's still going to be an inherent delay. There's nothing I can do about it. I wish there was. I really do, but oh man, this thing is nuts. Sellers are getting annihilated. This is a rinse and repeat of last week Monday or the week before or whatever. This is starting to go catatonic. And this is going catatonic in a big spot. Remember that POC that we were so concerned about at 661, and the only thing that was really the concern is if it breaks through it really aggressively? Check mark. Done. I think we got that taken care of. Look at the daily. We're way up at the top already. And there's still 7 hours left. A lot can happen in 7 hours. Good old NFP Fridays. Jeez. Anyway, let's shift over to the extended session, and we'll get that going. On this side of things, I hope you had a fantastic day of trading. I hope you had a fantastic week of trading. And yeah, as per the usual, rest up. Go into the weekend, get some rest, get away from the markets, like we always say, so you can come back on Monday ready to rock and roll. For you VIP members, you just hang out in the Zoom side of things. Just listen to me babble to myself for a second while I switch things. For the YouTube side of things, the post for the link is in the communities page. So for the rest of you, I will see you all next week, Monday, right? Yeah, there's no holidays or anything, I don't think. So Monday it is. We'll see you all then. Thanks.